Let's talk about the 18 books that I read in the month of July. Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. I have something so exciting today. We are going through my July wrap-up. How are we already at the end of July and in August? I don't know. I have no idea. But guys, I read some really good books this month. I read 18 books, which is absolutely insane. Now, most of them were on my Kindle because I read a lot of ARCs this month. And I know I'm trying to read my physical TBR, but I did go through a few books on my physical TBR, so I'm pretty happy with that one. So let's get into it. There's so many books here. I have all my notes, everything written down so that we can just get straight into this and talk about all of the books that I read in July. Sit down, get yourself a beverage, get yourself comfy. This is going to be a long one. So this month I read 9 of my physical TBR books. I read 3 ARCs, and that leaves us with 6 books on my Kindle, which is absolutely insane, but I had the best reading month, so let's talk about it. The first book that I read in the month of July was A Court of Mist and Fury. Now, I finished this on the first day of July, and you guys, if you've seen any of my TikTok videos, you will know I loved this book so much. I thought it was the perfect step up from the first book, and I absolutely loved it. Now, this is romantasy. If you don't know what this book is, you must be living under a rock, but it is a direct continuation on from the first book. So I'm not going to give you too much of a synopsis and tropes because I don't want to spoil this series if you haven't already read it. But if you wanted to see my review for the first book, it is in my June reading wrap up at the end. So you can go and have a look at that video to see sort of the plot, the synopsis and everything, because I'm not going to spoil it for you. I gave this one 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. I so see the hype behind this book. When I read this, I felt like when I picked this up, it was a completely different author than the person who had written ACOTAR. I really loved it. This is very romantasy and I just loved it. I loved the tension. I loved the angst. I really enjoyed it. And there were some characters that I did not like. You guys will know who I did not like. And the ending just had me like going through the ringer. I was screaming. I was crying. I was rooting for everyone except for, you know, the one person. But I just had the best time, and I think that this is really this really proves that this book and this series is really good. Now, I have not read the third one yet, so don't expect to see this in this reading wrap up. I'm hoping that it's going to be in next month's reading wrap up. But I really did love this, and I see the hype. I understand, and I see you guys, and I'm so grateful that you guys made me read this series just so that I could experience this book. Alrighty, the next book that I read in the month of July was Funny Story by Emily Henry. Now, these next couple of books you guys would have seen me read in my reading vlog. This is Funny Story. Everyone raves about this book, but it just was not it for me. It wasn't it for me. So I've written down the tropes here so that we can sort of like just go through it. So we've got small town, roommates, forced proximity, found family, and fake dating. I really thought this was going to be it. I really thought that I was going to love this book. I rated it 3 stars. You can go see my thoughts in my reading vlog video, but I'm going to give you like a really brief little like sum up. So we've got Daphne, who's just been cheated on by her long-term fiance with his best friend and is struggling to find her place in the world as a single woman. When they first started dating, she essentially fit into his life and moved away from everyone and everything she knew. So she decides in a few months she's going to move back home. This is when things get confusing, okay? Are you with me? You with me? So Daphne ends up moving in with her ex-fiance's new girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. Do you want me to say that again? You can rewind if that's confusing. It is a bit confusing to explain, but it's done really well in the book. Like, it's explained quite well. Her new roommate, Miles, is this mysterious, grumpy man who she's only ever heard bad things about. So they decide to stick it to their exes by pretending to date. So they get their invitation to both of their exes' wedding, which is weird enough that they were invited. And they decide to pretty much RSVP and be each other's plus ones so they can make their exes jealous. It actually, the story, the plot was actually quite good, and I think that's why I gave it 3 stars, because I really did enjoy the plot aspect of it, but I just felt like it was so repetitive and I just didn't gel too much with the characters. I didn't see myself connecting with either of them, and I just felt, yeah, like it was really repetitive. We were going kind of back and forth. We were learning a little bit about the characters, but I just feel like there could have been like so much more done, and then I feel like it was just really predictable. Like the things that happened I could predict from a mile away. So this one was a 3-star for me. Not one of my best Emily Henry reads, but I am going to still continue with reading some of her books because I'm still intrigued, and I wonder if now that I have like grown as a reader and I've read so many other authors, if maybe Emily Henry just isn't for me anymore. But we'll see how we go when I continue to read some of her books. The next book is Rootbound by Tara Jewett. Now, this is a really, really good book. I really enjoyed this, and for all my small town girlies, you guys will love this book. So we have small town, city girl, cowboy, grumpy sunshine, and forced proximity. So we have Tate, who's just gone through an earth-shattering divorce and throws herself into work. She's a photographer and has been offered this once-in-a-lifetime job working on this famous ranch. It's until she finds out that this ranch is actually owned by her estranged father. She still has to do this job because she cannot go back on her word, and when she arrives, she is met with a lot of hostility from Henry. Henry is the local cowboy who has dedicated his life to the ranch and to Tate's father. So I didn't know what this was when I went into it. I had no idea. I knew it was a small town. I knew there was like, I knew that it would be like enemies to lovers type vibe, because that's like usually what Tara Jewett is good at. So I ended up rating this 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. It is so short and cute and fluffy. I do feel like the book could have had like a little bit more. I feel like we had so many more pages to work with, and it was kind of just like really wrapped up quite quickly. But I did enjoy it. Like, I think it was a fun read. It's a good palate cleanser. If you're in a slump and you need something to like kind of pull you out, I feel like this book is really good at that. I read it in, I think, 48 hours. It really wasn't a long time that I read this, and I really did. I loved it. I liked the audiobook as well. So if you're interested in the audiobook, I listened to it on Spotify audiobooks, but it was really fun and it was an enjoyable read. So I think that you guys would really enjoy this, my small town girlies. The next book that we have is The Wrong Mr. Right by Stephanie Archer. Now, let's talk about this book. I rated this 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. I loved it. It was one of those books where I couldn't put it down. It was like 3 a.m. and I looked at the time and I was like, how did I get here? And I'd already gotten like 60% through the book. I was just obsessed. I was obsessed with the characters, and I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the premise so much. So we have a small town romance. This is the second book in the, I don't know what the series is called, the Queen's Cove series. So it's the second book in the Queen's Cove series. It is small town, grumpy sunshine. We have coaching, we have unrequited love, and we have bookworm and surfer. As you can probably tell, there's a surfer. Now, I'm one to say that I haven't read a lot of surfer romances, and I tend to divert from them because I just don't see myself enjoying that sort of aspect in the book. I don't really know surfing. I'm not really interested in surfing. It's not really a trope that I'm like, yes, get me in there. But this book has changed my mind. It's changed my mind, and maybe now I'm a surfer girly. I don't know, that's an interesting thing we need to unpack later. So this was just so enjoyable. The storyline follows Hannah. She's a shy, introverted bookworm who has recently taken over her late mother's bookstore, and well, she's always had a crush on her local bad boy surfer, Wyatt. Hannah is almost 30 and she's sick of being alone, so she asks Wyatt for help turning her into a hot girl, right? And in return, she starts managing his social media so that he can pick up surfing sponsors. This book, the concept really intrigued me. I didn't know what I was getting into when I started it, and I just love Stephanie Archer. She knows how to write a spice scene, and let me tell you, the spice in this book, top notch. Top notch. I loved the characters. I felt like I really related to Hannah. And I feel like a lot of you guys would relate to Hannah. She's shy. She's an introverted bookworm. Like she's getting to a point in her life where she really feels like she needs something more. She's not doing well at the bookstore. She feels like everyone is sort of in control of her and she has no control over her life. And I just think that the character development from Hannah and Wyatt in this book is top notch. I think that Stephanie did such a good job bringing these characters to life, and I actually felt like they were real people. You know, when you read a book and you feel like you know them, that's how you know it's going to be a good book, and this book really did that for me. I absolutely loved it, and I was going to give it 5 stars, but I did feel like the ending kind of just like wrapped up. I feel like it wrapped up. We had like a conflict at the end, and then it was kind of like unrealistic how it resolved. But other than that, I really loved it. And I think that this is such a good small town romance with like a twist, and it's something different. And I haven't read much of it, and I do recommend this. You guys will absolutely love it. The next book that we have is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Now, this is the second book in her like Part of Your World series. They're interconnected standalone, so you don't really have to read them in order. I didn't. This is the second one, and I read this last. So I did it wrong. I did it wrong, but I didn't know that there was an order. I had no idea. So this is a very interesting book, and I actually really enjoyed it. So this book follows Brianna and Jacob. They're 2 doctors working in the emergency department. Jacob has just been transferred to this hospital to get away from his ex-girlfriend, and Brianna misunderstands Jacob's intentions with a promotion she's trying to receive, and they do not get along, okay? Brianna pretty much writes him off before he even gets into the hospital. After the misunderstanding is cleared up, Brianna and Jacob end up sending each other letters for multiple weeks as friends. So they're pen pals, right? As they continue to get to know each other, Jacob ends up asking Brianna to be his fake girlfriend to prove to his family that he is over his ex. And we all know where this ends up. We all know where it ends up, okay? This gave me real Grey's Anatomy vibes. Like the drama in here was really good. We have just so much going on in the background, and it's just done perfectly. Like it's the plot and the like cute rom-com vibe is just really, really balanced out really well. And I think that Abby just does a great job at bringing real life issues to light, and I really love her books. I love her writing. I feel like you can feel so much while also just being so happy while reading them. And when you finish it, you just like, I feel like you learn something when you read her books. Like you learn something about yourself, and you learn something about the people that you love. And I really think that this is one of those books that you have to read at least once in your life. And I feel like Abby Jimenez writes those books where you think you're going into it and you're like, yes, this is going to be a cute, fluffy romance. No, it's not. It's not. But it is worth it. It is truly worth it. But do check the trigger warnings before you read any of her books, because some of the topics can be a little bit triggering to some people. But I really, really love this one, and this was a 4-star read for me as well. This next book is my favorite read of July. It's my favorite book in July, and it is Play Along by Liz Tomford. Liz Tomford, I hope all of her favorite people are watching this, because I am a Liz Tomford stan through and through and through and through and through. She can do absolutely no wrong by me. This was a 5-star read for me. I fucking loved it. Now, I was really skeptical when I started this book because I was afraid. I was so scared that it just wasn't going to live up to the expectations. Caught Up is the 3rd book in this series, and this is the 4th. Caught Up was an insane read for me. I absolutely loved it. That book lives in my heart forever and ever and ever. It is a Roman Empire book, and I just did not know if she could meet that again. Her books just continue to get better and better and better and better, and the book boyfriends that she comes out with are just, they're insane. They're insane, okay? She knows what she's doing. She knows how to get us, right? I loved this book so much. I still think that I liked Caught Up better, okay? I'm gonna tell you that. Caught Up was still better than this one, but this one was still an insanely solid read. So we've got a sports romance, which is baseball. We've got Workplace Forbidden, Unrequited Love, But From Him, Marriage in Vegas turned Marriage of Convenience, and there is the My Wife microtrope, which, delicious. Absolutely delicious. So we've got Isaiah. I think that's how you say his name. I think that's how you say his name. So we've got Isaiah, who's always been obsessed with Kennedy ever since she started working as a sports physio for his team years ago. Kennedy has never looked at him as anything more than friends, and she would never jeopardize her career by dating a player on the team. One night in Vegas, they meet up and get very drunk. And the next morning they wake up and you guessed it, they're married. They got married. It kind of reminds me of that scene in Friends where Ross and Rachel get married and they wake up in bed the next morning together. That's what this book reminded me, that scene is also in this book. Like, if you know, you know, okay? All my Friends girlies will just know. Anyways, they have to continue this fake marriage so Kennedy doesn't lose her job, and Isaiah loves the idea of staying married to Kennedy because maybe she'll start seeing him as more, right? He's gonna prove himself. He's gonna prove himself to his girl. His wife, my wife. I already told you, I love this book. This book is perfection. It is so cute, and I just love when the guy falls first and he falls harder, and I just love the obsession trope. And I loved the musical references also in this book. I feel like it really just like tied it together. I'd listen to the music as they were talking about it, and I listened to the playlist, and I just loved it. And I really, really, really want you guys to read it. I want you to go read this series because the cameos that you get from all of the characters from the past books, it's so wholesome, it's so found family, it is perfection. And I don't know how she's going to top these books with another one. We have one more coming, and I want Rio's story so bad, but I'm also so sad that this is going to be over. Like, I think about this book every day. I think about this book every day. I think about Isaiah every day, and he was perfection embodied. Like, if you want to find the perfect man, you need to read Liz Chelmsford's books. Like, it's non-negotiable. Like, just come on, just read them. Alrighty, the next book we have is Romancing Mr Bridgeton, which is book 4 in the Bridgerton series. This is Colin and Penelope's book. If you guys watched season 3 of Bridgerton when it came out a couple months ago, you will know exactly what this book is about, and I had to read it. This was a 5-star read for me because I love Colin and Penelope so much. I love their story. If you don't know about Colin and Penelope, I'll sort of give you like a little bit of just like a brief little explanation, but you have to read it. So we've got our wallflower Penelope. She loves to read books. She's very introverted. She has been in the marriage market for years, and she has been best friends with Colin for even longer. They have been best friends since they're children. Colin is your most eligible bachelor for this year in the marriage market. Essentially, he's the most eligible single man, and everyone wants a piece of him. Everyone wants a slice of his cake, right? So they end up devising a plan to sort of help each other, and Colin's not really interested. He's not going to get married. He's not interested this year, but Penelope is starting to feel like she is just like losing options. She feels like she's a spinster, right? Like, she is at probably the end of her sort of marriage journey. She's never found a man. It's just not happening for her. She's giving up. And then you have this one night where Penelope sort of comes to realize the fact that she's never going to get married. She's never going to be kissed. She's never going to have a man in that way, right? It's never going to happen. So she asks Colin to give her a little smoochy smooch. And that's what I'm telling you. That's all I'm telling you. You will have to read the book to figure it out, okay? You will have to read the book or watch the TV series. But there is a scene, you guys know the scene I'm talking about, that I wanted to read so bad, and you know the scene if you've watched the TV show, and it lived up to expectations. Let me tell you that. It was so good. That's all I'm telling you. That's all I'm telling you. I'm sorry. You'll have to read it. It is a historical romance, and it is just really good, and I feel like it was as good as the TV show. Whereas I found that a lot of the Bridgerton books are not as good as the TV show, if that makes sense. And that's usually the other way around. Usually the book is better, but in this instance, the book was on par with the TV series. Now, this is sort of the moment that I steer clear of my physical TBR and I just go rogue. I go absolutely rogue. And I read Billionaire Cowboy Temptation by Aria Sage. I'll pop it here. This was like a cute, like, spicy little novella, right? It was a 200-page book. It is Cowboy Small Town billionaire, best friend's brother, and single dad. So it is like kind of a palette cleanser, and I used it as a bit of a palette cleanser. And I did enjoy it. It was cute, but I ended up giving it 3 stars only because it's 200 pages. Like, you can't really give a novella any more than, like, let's say 4 stars, right? So we've got Luke, who's a grumpy single dad who happens to be a billionaire ranch owner. Amelia has come to live with her friend's brother on his ranch to work on a building project, and well, one thing leads to another. Luke is fighting his feelings for Amelia, and Amelia cannot stand the mixed signals she is getting from Luke. So it was a fun read. It was a really fun read, and I did enjoy it. I think it was super cute, super fun, and if you're into the cowboy spicy books, then definitely give this a read. It's also a bit insta love because you don't have much pages, right? And I feel like if this was a full-size book, it could have been so much higher in stars, and you could have had so much more happen, but it was like that cute little palette cleanser that I needed at the time. The next books that I read were the Wolf Hotel series by K.A. Tucker. Now, this is super random for me, and I sort of just like got into this rabbit hole of reading these books. So there are 5 books in the series, and I read 4 of them back to back to back to back. I don't know what happened. I was loving them. I was binging them. They were so super easy to read, and I just read them all in a day. Like, it was insane. So the first one is Tempt Me. I gave that one 5 stars, and then the rest of them were all 4 stars. So we've got Break Me, which is the second one, Teach Me, which is the third one, and Surrender to Me, which is the 4th one in this series. So the first book was 5 stars, and the rest of them were 4 stars. I really enjoyed this series. It follows the same couple. So I'll give you like a brief little explanation of like the first book, and then you can sort of like, if you want to read them, then read them. So we've got Billionaire, Grumpy Sunshine, Boss Employee, Spicy. Like, super spicy. If you don't like spicy books, don't read this series. We've got Untouched FMC, and it's kind of small town. Like, from book 2 onwards, it's kind of small town. So this series follows Abby. She's a small town Christian girl who recently finds her long-term boyfriend cheating on her. So she decides to essentially run away and take a job at the new Wolf Hotel opening up in Alaska. She gets drunk on her first night with her work colleagues and runs into a mysterious man. And she asks this man to take her innocence. You know what I mean when I say innocence, right? The next morning she finds out she in fact asked her very rich, very handsome Playboy boss to sleep with her, and next thing she knows, she's being promoted to his personal assistant. But the rule is they can never get involved with each other in that way, right? It's a strictly professional relationship, right? Right. I loved these books. They were so super spicy, and that's really it. That's like really it. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of drama. If you like drama-filled books, then this series is for you. Like, I could not stop reading it. The spice was great. And we just like, when I thought it was like super spicy and it couldn't get any more spicy, they topped it. They seriously topped it. I was going to finish the 5th book in the series in July, but I ended up needing a little bit of a break just because like it was a lot of spice. Like, there was a lot going on, and I feel like I needed a little bit more fluff. Like a little bit of fluffiness. So I ended up putting that one down halfway through, and I'm obviously going to finish it. But yes, I really enjoyed this series. I really enjoyed this series, and I think you guys should definitely read it if you like your spicy billionaire books, because my oh my, my oh my. I also think that if you like the Salacious Players Club series by Sarah Kate, then it's got a very similar vibe. It's definitely got a very similar vibe to Praise. So if you liked Praise, definitely read this series. You guys are doing so well. We're getting there. I promise we're getting there. We're almost done. Maybe. I don't know. The next book that we have is Under the Stars by Laura Pavlov. Now, this is the second book in the Cottonwood Cove series. It is a small town romance, and I fucking loved it. I loved it. But you guys know that I'm a Laura Pavlov girl through and through. Like, I love all of her books, and she can do absolutely no wrong by me. So we have Small Town, Grumpy Sunshine, Boss Employee, Forced Proximity, and Billionaire. Right? Georgia just graduated from college and lands herself a job as an assistant to Maddox Lancaster. She is sunshine in human form, and she is exactly what Maddox is not. Maddox refuses to be another boss assistant cliche, but he cannot keep himself away from her when they start spending more time together. Do opposites attract, or will this all go up in flames? I loved these characters. I seriously loved it. I ate this book up. I couldn't stop reading it. I think that Laura Pavlov's writing is just so easy to binge, and I think that she just writes such good characters. I loved the opposites attract trope, and I just loved the grumpy sunshine. It was done so well, and I think that the character building and the relationship building was done really well as well. And I do think that Laura just knows what she's doing when she writes a good small town romance, okay? She knows what she's doing, and I love these two, and I binged this book so hard. It was one of those books where I thought I was getting into a reading slump, and it pulled me right back out. It pulled me right back out, and I just wanted to read more. I just wanted more of them. Like I feel that Laura Pavlov's books are a good length. Like they're the perfect length to read, but I just always want more from them. I just want more. So I gave this one 4 stars, and I really enjoyed it. And you guys really need to read the Cottonwood Cove series, because the spice in here, it does a good job. So the last physical book that I read this month was The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This book, I understand why it is so hyped on Book Talk. I understand why everyone loves it and everyone talks about it, and people just like say that this is a Roman Empire book, because I think that this book will forever be that to me. And it's one of those books where I wish I could read it again for the first time, you know? It was beautiful. It was the most beautiful book I think I've read in a really, really long time. I don't want to spoil it too much for you guys, because I went into this blind, and I think that that's like the perfect way to go into this book. But essentially what it is a rom-com, magical realism, and you've got like grief and acceptance. I can't see any more tropes like when I'm trying to like describe them to you guys, and I don't want to give too much away, so I'm trying to be very selective with what I tell you. So essentially we have Clementine, who's just lost her auntie. Her auntie has always told her stories of her magic apartment, but she never believed her. Things start happening in this apartment and she cannot explain. Her auntie's one rule was never to fall in love in this apartment, and maybe she's broken one of her auntie's biggest rules. I am only giving you that. That's the only little piece of information I'm giving you about this book, because I feel that this book is best to go into blind. I think that if you know what happens, it's not going to be fun. And it was just a whole experience. This book was a whole goddamn experience, and I just loved every second of it. It's something that I have never read before, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was beautifully tragic. I loved the little connections to her auntie, and I loved it. And I need you guys to read this, because I think about it daily, and I need to talk to someone about it, because it was beautiful, and it was just like, I can't explain it. I can't explain how I feel without spoiling it to you guys. So I'm keeping this really, really short and sweet, but I gave this 5 stars. This was the easiest 5-star read to give. And it was in contender with Play Along for my favorite book of the month. But I so super loved this, and I think that you guys will love it as well. So please definitely read it, or put it on your TBR, because it's one of those books that you need to read once in your lifetime. So this is the point in the month where I just got inundated with ARCs. I got inundated with advanced reader copies of books, and it was insane. It was crazy. So the first book that I read was Woolflower by Samantha Lee. This was a hockey romance, grumpy sunshine introvert, small town, boss employee. We've got flirty text messages, and it's forced proximity. So the book follows Violet and Cord. Cord is a hockey player who co-owns a ranch with his brothers and sisters, and he just transferred hockey teams and needs an assistant for the summer. In walks our shy little wallflower Violet. Need I say more? We follow Cord and Violet during the summer leading up to the hockey season, living together, and let's just say things heat up. Now, I absolutely love this book. I couldn't put it down. I think that Samantha Lee does a great job of writing characters that we can relate to. I feel like these characters have such a special place in my heart now, and I just want the best for them, and I was just rooting for them the whole time, and I just loved our little wallflower. Like, I loved it. I loved how relatable she was, the characters. I fell in love with them. I fell in love with the story. It was like the perfect mixture of sweet, cute, fluffy, spicy. It was like the character development was amazing, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I also loved the storyline that we got from the brothers and sisters, of them sort of like dealing with all of their drama, all their issues, and then them coming together at the end. And I really, really love this one. And look at the cover. Like, you can't go wrong with this cover. I gave this one 5 stars. It was a very easy 5-star read for me, and it is out now, so definitely go and read it. Please go and add it to your Kindle. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so even better, even better. But I absolutely love this one. So thank you so much, Samantha, for letting me read this before it came out, because I'm in awe of you and I'm in awe of this book. The next book that we have is Homebound by Meredith Trapp. Now this one is out August 8th. So it might be out by the time this video comes up. I don't know. I actually don't know. So it is a cowboy romance, Grumpy Sunshine reverse, childhood friends to lovers, black cat, golden retriever. It's always been you, he falls first, single dad, and forced proximity. It is the holy trinity of tropes, right? It is the holy trinity of tropes. So this book follows Dakota and Wyatt. They've been best friends since they were children, except Wyatt has always been in love with Dakota, and she never felt the same. Wyatt moved away for years and returns home to a grumpy Dakota. She cannot believe he left her and never looked back. The only twist is that Wyatt has a little daughter now, Vienna. Dakota is struggling with a bad breakup and currently is at the worst in her bull riding career. Can Dakota forgive Wyatt, and can Wyatt make Dakota realize that they are perfect for each other? I started this book and I just knew that I was going to love it instantly because the tropes. Like, you can't mess up the tropes. You cannot tell me that a single dad small town romance is not going to do it for you, because it did it for me. I gave this one 4 stars. It was a very solid read. I really enjoyed it. Again, I loved the characters. I loved the character building. I loved our little moments from Dakota when she was really just like questioning herself and questioning her intentions and trying to figure out if what she was doing with her life was actually what she wanted to do. And we have a lot of personal growth from her. Wyatt is just like your cute little golden retriever boy. Like, everything he's ever done in his life is for Dakota, and you don't realize that until you sort of get throughout the book. And the way that they treat the way that Dakota treats his little girl is so beautiful. And I love when a kid is thrown into things, because I feel like the beautiful power of falling in love with not just the partner but also his child is just like, it's just perfection. And I just love it, okay? I love it. You cannot tell me a single dad does not work. It works, okay? So I really enjoyed this. It was a 4-star read, and that one's out August 8th, I believe. And the cover is also fucking stunning on this one as well. So I think you should read it. I think that you guys will love this. It is your perfect, it's kind of like Chestnut Springs reversed. Like, we've got Daddy Cade vibes, but like Sunshine Daddy Cade vibes. And then we've got Rhett as the bull rider, but like super grumpy. I don't know, it was like, it's really good. If you love Chestnut Springs, I think that you will absolutely love Homebound. It is such a good read, and I love it. We are on to the last book that I read in July. So this is one that I'm really, really excited to talk to you guys about, and it is The Bonus by T.L. Swan, my favorite author. I love her so much. She is in my auto buy author section. Like, everything she writes, I eat it up. I eat it up. So we have a billionaire, boss employee, grumpy sunshine, unrequited love, both sides. We have one night stand, spicy, it's always been you, and he hates everyone but her. Okay, so we've got Gabriel Ferreira. He's a rich, grumpy billionaire who always gets what he wants. Grace has always been in love with her boss, but all he does is boss her around and parade other women in front of her. She can't stand it anymore. She hates that her infatuation is one-sided, so she decides to move away and quit her job. On her final day working for Gabrielle, she decides to dress up and show him what he's missing out on. Except little do we know, he is also infatuated with her. I know, right? They share one hot night together and they part ways the next day, because he's always been told that he has to marry an Italian woman and he cannot go against his family's wishes. But then we fast forward in time. Okay, I'm not telling you anymore because I'm not spoiling the book, and I think that you need to experience it, because when I was reading the book, I was shocked. I was in shock. I was like, I absolutely love this book. T.L. Swan can write a spicy billionaire romance through and through. Now, this book is actually one of her less spicy books that I've read. I feel like it is probably the less spicy rating that I would give. Like, I'd probably only give it like a 1.5 to a 2. I think that the plot was very heavy in this book. The plot was very heavy and the spice was sort of left behind, and I actually loved it. I seriously loved it. It was so different for her, and I think she did such a perfect job. There was so much going on in this book, and there was so much plot, and there was so much back and forward, and just a lot of things being unraveled, and I feel like it was done perfectly. I think it was done perfectly. And you guys know I love TL Swan. Now I can't think about the date that this book comes out, but I'll pop it on the screen so that you guys know when it comes out. It's definitely the middle of August. I feel like it might be like the 15th or the 14th or something, but I'll pop it here when I have a look at the date that it comes out. But I seriously loved this book, and you guys know that I love TL Swan, and it just felt like a very different book for her, and she still did such a good job at writing it and keeping me interested, keeping the character development moving forward, sort of understanding the depth of all of the characters, and I absolutely loved it, and I think that you guys will really enjoy it too. So definitely pick it up, pop it on pre-order. I really loved it. So thank you so much, TL, for the opportunity to read this book. I absolutely loved it, and I think you guys will as well. Alrighty guys, that is my July wrap up. 18 books, which is absolutely insane, and I did feel myself getting into a slump at the end of the month, so I'm so glad that I still got 18 books read. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for sitting with me and going through all the books that I read this month. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. I want you to comment your favorite read of July and also how many books you read as well, because I really need to know. Alrighty guys, I love you all. Don't forget to turn on post notifications so that you know when I post next. Love you, bye.